Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, December 8th, 2021, and we're going to get started with our pre-market analysis on the S&P 500 futures market. Yesterday really couldn't have worked out any better. Remember, we said we saw no signs of exhaustion coming into the open, and so we were expecting a continued push higher, and that's pretty much exactly what we got. Right out of the open, we pulled back and just started pushing and got this really incredible, what was it, just about a 60-point push going into the lunch hour there, and then it just kind of went sideways and crapped out. Something interesting to note, which you guys know I like to point out, the fact that we got this push all the way up to that 46.92 area, and look at where we pulled back to. We pulled back right to our eye level at 67.50 and bounced right off the 50%. So if you were watching this market in the afternoon and you saw it starting to pull back, this area here at 67 would have been, should have piqued your interest. And look at that, right off that level, barely broke it by a point. And then so far, we've gone ahead and continued to attempt to push here. And now we're starting to peter out here, and we're going to talk about what we're seeing up top here. So let's go up to the ultra high time frames. And quarterly, I don't think really has anything new to really add there. Notice that we are holding 50% of that previous quarterly bar. A few days ago, we came down right into this 4,500. I think it bounced at 92, so it went a few points below it, held, and now we are way above it. So I guess that's a good kind of clue for the bulls there. Our monthly still has a really nice bullish divergence off this pullback as well. And so a bounce off 50% of that previous quarterly with a nice bullish divergence again on the monthly and the weekly down there. So pretty good clue for the bulls going into the middle of the week here. And that monthly bearish signal, remember, we already pulled back from whatever it was, 47.40 all the way to 44, almost 300 points. So we've got a 300 point pullback, and we were watching that ever since we came up and tagged the back end of that trend line there. So 300 points from there. Now it looks like maybe there's a recovery at this point. Again, the weekly has that nice bullish signal from the lows. Nothing else to really say. Notice I said we have to really break above this weekly bar, previous weekly bar, and we have achieved that now. So we are higher. So everything's looking nice and bullish here. However, when we get down to the smaller time frames, you're going to see a lot of trouble in this area. So right now, the daily also not really showing any signs of exhaustion, just like we saw yesterday. Everything looks pretty strong, especially with these previous two bullish bars here, and there's no sign of exhaustion from the top end of the move. So still daily not really giving us any other information there as in terms of divergence. And then on our 4-hour, this is when we start to see a little bit of wonkiness, and we're going to see this from the 4-hour down here. So we pushed up, like we said, we pulled back, bounced off that 50% area, came up into the overnight, and we were attempting to continue to, or the market was attempting to continue to push higher. Now what we're seeing here on the 4-hour is the wonkiness. So off the high of the current 4-hour bar, we've pushed significantly higher compared to this previous swing high in RVI here, but we've pushed much lower on the RVI. So RVI is much lower, but price did push significantly higher, by at least a number of points. So we have somewhat of a bearish little signal off the high. That's not an official signal. It's just a potential signal that could print. And then off the low of that candle, we have a bullish argument. So we have a higher low compared to this pullback, remember, to that 50% leg we talked about. That RVI was here, and now it's lower, even though price is now higher. So we have, like I said, some wonkiness where we are right now. And when we go down to the 60-minute, we just see more of it. And if you look at the patterns on RVI here, you see that like we push higher in price, but the RVI pushes lower, right? And the lows of price are pushing higher, and the lows on the RVI are pushing lower as well. So it's like this crunching effect. I don't know how else to explain it, but essentially, it's like going in like this, right? So goes higher, RVI goes lower, and then the highs get higher and these go lower. So you get kind of this shrinking effect where the highs get strong bearish signals, the lows get strong bullish signals, and we're getting tighter and tighter in here with that, right? So we'll have to see what happens here. This might be a little clue that we might get, you know, because it's a lot of back and forth and a lot of conflicting signals right here, could mean we have this hiccup for a pullback. So we'll have to see, and we're going to see this pattern. Look at, just want you to kind of focus in on this little channel here on the RVI. We're going to see that as we dial down here, and it's pretty obvious here, I believe, also on the 30-minute. Yeah, so take a look at that. We pushed up into this area again, slightly higher highs as we go, slightly higher lows as we go, but slightly lower highs as we go and slightly lower lows as we go on RVI. So again, over here, this like channeling going on in the RVI. So eventually this will break out, right? And you can always look at this stuff going on down here, and this stuff will break out kind of like price does out of these channels. Even see support and resistance just on the RVI alone. And so this in and of itself has a bunch of different information, but it's just interesting to note this pattern here. We see this sometimes when we start to get this major battle going on between the bulls and the bears. So 30-minute also shows this battle, and you can see a whole flurry of bullish and bearish signals on like every little pullback and push higher. And then the 10-minute, pretty much the same thing here. And you can see, again, we're pushing higher highs and slightly higher lows as we go, and this RVI continues to channel down like this. So we'll see what happens here this morning. Because of all the wonkiness, it's hard to really interpret that. You know, we could essentially hold where we are. Let me get the 10-minute back, or the 30-minute back up here. Essentially, this could be a pattern, and it's you know, petering out, and we're in, let's just say, this little upward sloping channel. Not the most beautiful line there, but you get the idea. Somewhere about that, right in here, we have this little channel. There's two scenarios, right? It's pretty straightforward. Either price is going to come down and we're going to get this pullback into a deeper retracement level to come down, right? Or they're going to find support over here and they're just going to continue to push. So a little bit of sideways action, some consolidation, I guess you could call it, and then a breakout either up or down. I think we could probably make some good arguments for either side. We're just going to have to wait and see what the market actually does. Some other things to keep in mind here. As far as retracements go, we did push up from, again, this December low. Remember this pullback. The major low is back all the way from October, right? So we have this whole thing up. Let's just go ahead and draw the whole fib. And then we talked about how it held 50% here. Well, now we have this leg up from here, and we have this retracement scheme. And you notice the 50% would bring us right back into this previous resistance in the market from December 6th and back over here on December 3rd. So we have that kind of aligning right there, and the 61.8 is right into that previous resistance there, right around 72.50. So right in that general area. So there is this retracement scheme for this whole push up from the December 3rd low to keep in mind. And then the smaller retracement that we want to watch is the leg from the previous daily low. So let's see if I can get this oriented. So from the low of yesterday all the way up to the high we made in the overnight session gives us 64.50, about 46.50 here, and about 46.35. Not necessarily the greatest alignment with price action or some of our other levels in terms of this retracement or even that other retracement. It's not a beautiful alignment, but we do want to keep in mind that we see this happen all the time. Price pushes out of the previous daily low, makes a high, pulls back, and uses one of these levels pretty much to the tick. Again, it's hard to say exactly which one's going to work, right? Because that's the uncertainty we have in the market. but we will want to watch those retracement levels. So with that being said, that's kind of where we are for this morning. Like I said, a lot of wonkiness up top here, and so we're just going to have to see where the market goes this morning. Let's look to the 10-minute really quickly and just see if we could kind of sum this up here as far as our expectations go. A pullback here. We have a lot of good levels below us to rely on for a bounce, and if we get a nice clear bullish signal or some type of indication of bullishness, we'll go ahead and try this stuff long. There is a possibility that we could get a pullback and a retracement of this whole push up, right? So just keep in mind the possibility for them to break through this trend that we kind of drew yesterday off the lows here. Notice we haven't really come back to test that general trend line there, so that might be a nice little clue once that breaks to expect that continued pullback into one of these interesting levels we have below us. And then obviously the flip side is they'll just rally this sucker and continue going higher. And of course the all-time high is right up here at 47.40.50, so not too far away from where we are right now. So if they launch, we'll just go ahead and get some longs in and ride the trend. If there's a pullback, we might want to again ride it down, but there's an expectation that we would continue higher, just because again that daily is not really showing the strongest signs of exhaustion up top. And the thing is, the 4-hour is in that situation where depends on how it closes, there might be an argument for both sides. So it's a little wonky here. We'll take it as it comes this morning and be nimble here. So I wish I had a nice clear picture for you, but that's just not what the charts are giving us this morning. So for everybody out on YouTube, have a great rest of your day. We're going to jump down to our short time frames here with our members and start looking for some trades. So have a great rest of your day.